Stadium to take on my San Francisco 49ers. The Redskins are 3-7, just coming off of a loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The 49ers are 6-4, just coming off of a victory by 6 points against the New York Giants. And I'll get into the stats in that game in a second. I'm just going to run down the rest of the games going on this week. We got the Cleveland Browns. Oh, by the way, that game between the Redskins and the 49ers in the West Coast will be broadcast on CBS at 4:30 in the afternoon. The Cleveland Browns visit the Arizona Falcons. The Falcons, believe it or not, are in first place in the NFC South, and they're 4-6. The reason they're in first place is because, since the 49ers eked out that victory the week before last against the New Orleans Saints, the Saints have been on a losing streak, and they lost again just this past weekend. I'll give you all the scores and things for all the games that went, but right now I'm just reading down the list of what's going on now. That game that I just mentioned, the Browns and Falcons, will be broadcast on CBS via Atlanta television at 1 p.m. The Lions visit the New England Patriots in what I'm sure is going to be a highly competitive game between Matthew Stafford and Tom Brady, the quarterbacks respectively of each team. The Lions are 7-3. The Patriots are 8-2, coming off of an outstanding victory against the Indianapolis Colts, 42-20, this past Monday night. And a virtual unknown running back ran for 4 touchdowns and 199 yards against the Indianapolis Colts defense. But we're going to go ahead and keep it here. Lions and Colts on Fox, broadcast live, 1 p.m., live on the motherfucking tube. We also have the Packers visiting the Minnesota Vikings. Packers with Aaron Rodgers playing white hot right now. Not to be confused with something racist. I mean white hot, like white heat hot. You guys might not know anything about that. Educate yourself. But anyway, the Packers are visiting the 4-6 Minnesota Vikings. Game's going to be aired on Fox as well at 1 p.m. There's a lot of different games. When you hear the same stations, networks, and times, it depends on the geographical location you're actually in. So if you're here in Philadelphia or in New Jersey, chances are you might not see that game at 1 p.m. on Fox. You may see your Jets playing, but I digress. The Jaguars are visiting the Colts. The Colts are 6-4 following their loss to Tom Brady's Patriots this past Monday night. And the Jaguars are 1-9. That game's going on CBS at 1 p.m. The Bengals, 6-3-1, because they're one of the only 2 teams besides the Carolina Panthers who have a tie this year. Those are the people they tied with. 6-3-1, taking on the 5-5 Houston Texans in Houston. Houston are the underdogs by a point. The Jets are taking on the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo/New York. The Jets are 2-8. The victory that they were actually coming off of that long-ass losing streak comes via Michael Vick. Will he be starting this week? Who knows? But at the end of the day, the 5-5 Bills are looking to solidify a spot in the AFC North. That game starts at 1 p.m., telecast via CBS. The 2-8 Bucks visiting the 4-6 Chicago Bears. You know, Jay Cutler has been up and down. And ever since the beginning of the season, before the season actually started, and your man Brandon Lloyd, not Brandon Lloyd, I apologize. Brandon Marshall. I'm thinking 49ers. I got 49ers on the brain. But Brandon Marshall, beginning of the season, before the season actually kicked off, he said, and I quote, you could quote me on this, he was on ESPN First Take when he said it, that Jay Cutler was going to be the MVP of the National Football League this year. You out your goddamn mind, Brandon Marshall. I heard about having confidence in your team and confidence in your quarterback like Terrell Owens. That's my quarterback. It's my teammate. It's not right. Just like Terrell Owens, except he wasn't crying it like that. He did guarantee Jay Cutler to be the MVP of the NFL this year. He's not playing nowhere near being considered a top 50 player. And I'm combining all positions. Safety, cornerback, quarterback, wide receiver, tight end, offensive lineman, linebacker, nickelback, safety, whatever. All you guys are included. The Bears have sucked this season. And I'm not a Chicago Bears fan, but I don't hate against the team either. Just because I'm a fan of my home teams, there's other teams that I like. Like I'm a Philadelphia fan, so I like Sixers, Phillies, Flyers, Eagles. But there's a team I like better in every sport. And I don't vote or hate against my home team when those guys get together. I sit down, be neutral, and whoever win. I don't jump in people's faces. And Rob, you know this because you had me over your crib a couple weeks ago when the Eagles played not a couple, it was a few weeks now, it was week 4, I believe. Eagles played the motherfucking 49ers. And just like a couple years ago, you guys were up by some points at the half, and then Frank Gore comes out in the third quarter and starts running y'all heart out, and y'all faces start looking like you didn't even want to play football no more. So, shout out to the 49ers pulling that victory out, and shout out to you fucking Rob. Happy birthday and all that, yeah. But shout out to you. You ain't see me get up running in your face, yeah, it's over, like you and Ryan was doing. No, Rob and Ryan. Y'all was just yelling and screaming all in my face when Darren Sproles ran back that motherfucking punt return with 9:06 remaining on the clock in the second quarter. Then by the time he crossed the plane, it was 8:56 remaining. Ladies and gentlemen, 8:58 remaining in the second quarter. Not the second half, the second quarter of play. Ladies and gentlemen, the Philadelphia Eagles didn't do anything after that because of the 49er defense. Now, see, our defense is performing great with all the injuries we've had and the suspensions and the domestic cases and the substance abuse policy violations. Our defense have been stepping it the fuck up. And shout out to my homie Borland, the rookie, number 50, who been killing it in the spot of Patrick Willis. And now we just got back Alden Smith this past Sunday. It's going to be good. Plus, there's a 21-day screening window open now to see if Navarro Bowman is ready to come back onto the field for the 49ers. But we'll talk about that. The Cardinals going to take on the Seahawks. The Cardinals, the surprise story of the NFL this year. Maybe because the fact that, I don't know, the Super Bowl in January is going to be held in their stadium at the University of Phoenix University of Phoenix Stadium. I apologize. They are 9-1 right now. They lead the NFL by the best record in the NFL by 2 games, and they lead the NFC West, which my 49ers are at, by 3 games. The Seahawks, coming off of a disappointing loss on the road to Kansas City. They're 6-4, just like my 49ers, and they're the defending Super Bowl champions, by the way. They're going to be at home. Hopefully the 12th man can give the Arizona Cardinals a loss, because I need the Cardinals to lose to put the 49ers in a better position in the NFC West. The Rams are going to take on the Chargers. Oh, by the way, that game is going to be 4:05, the 4:05 game on Fox, so make sure you tune in for that. Then we got the Rams, 4-6, by the way, who keep rotating quarterbacks. I don't know if they're going to be starting Hill this week. At the end of the day, 4-6 Rams on the road, who've been beating teams. They beat the 49ers. They beat the Seahawks, and they just got finished basically destroying the Denver Broncos this past week. So these 4-6 Rams are for the upset special. So if you was hoping that a team lost in a certain division, the Rams are the people that you need to count on beating people. And right now, they're taking on the San Diego Chargers this Sunday, and their records are reversed because while the Rams are 4-6, the Chargers are 6-4. That game is going to also be a 4 o'clock kickoff. Being tuned in at Fox. The 6-4 Miami Dolphins are on the road to take on the losing Denver Broncos. I say losing not because they're losers, but they just lost to the fucking Rams. I couldn't believe their defense played that fucking well. But anyway, the Broncos are favored by 7 points. That's the 4:25 kickoff via CBS. And the last game of the evening will be the Sunday Night Football game in America game. It's the Cowboys and the Giants getting it down live on NBC at 8:30. That's Channel 10 for those not to know here in Philadelphia. But the Cowboys are 7-3. Running away with the NFC East is something that they can't really do because the Eagles are still right behind them. The Giants 3-7 are anything but an afterthought of winning the NFC East. So get those guys out of there. And then this coming Monday, because you know we're on Wednesday/Thursday almost, this coming Monday is going to be the 6-4 Baltimore Ravens visiting the Mercedes-Benz Superdome, taking on the 4-6 New Orleans Saints. That's an 8:30 kickoff as well on ESPN Monday Night Football next week, so make sure you guys tune in for that. Now I want to give you guys the scores for this past week. The Thursday night game was the Cleveland Browns and Brian Hoyer taking on the Cincinnati Bengals, who they beat quite handily in Cincinnati, 24-3. They being the Browns. The Browns beat the Bengals 24-3. Andy Dalton didn't look really good there. He might be looking suspect now. And they just offered him and gave him that extension. The 49ers, as I said, eked out a victory, 27-24. It went into overtime in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. And thanks to the homeboy Borland picking up that fumble when he got the sack fumble on Drew Brees at the end of regulation to even send us in to overtime and give us that opportunity to kick that field goal. Colin Kaepernick went 14-32 for 210 yards passing and 1 passing touchdown, while Drew Brees was Drew Brees, 28 of 47 for 292 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Frank Gore had 23 carries for 81 yards and a TD on the ground, while Mark Ingram had 27 carries with 120 yards on the ground, no touchdown. Receiving leaders, Brandon Cooks with 5 receptions and 90 yards and a touchdown for your boy called the New Orleans Saints. And my man Anquan Bolden, 6 receptions, 95 yards and a touchdown for the 49ers. That was a great game, by the way. I watched it. At first, I was watching it through the NFL Red Zone channel because I was watching all the games. But when the 49ers game came on, I just turned right to Fox and was watching my Niners. Other notable games this past weekend, the Chiefs beat the Bills on the road, 17-13. The Dolphins lost to the Lions in what was a banging game. Matthew Stafford with another fourth quarter comeback drive killed it. It was 16-20 the final score. The Cowboys on the road took on the Jacksonville Jaguars. They beat them handily, 31-17. The Tennessee Titans lost on the road to the Baltimore Ravens, 21-7. The Pittsburgh Steelers thirst. What happened? The Pittsburgh Steelers lose on the road at the Meadowlands to Michael Vick and the New York Jets, or we could call them New Jersey Jets, 13-20. The Atlanta Falcons were on the road in Tampa Bay, and they beat the Bucs 27-17. The Denver Broncos got 41 points on the road against the Oakland Raiders. The Rams lost to the Cardinals 31-14. The Giants lost to the Seahawks that week, 17-38. The Packers beat the bejesus out the Bears 55-14. And the Eagles beat the Panthers 45-21. But that was the week before last. What about last week? Well, let's run down those scores. The Bills on the road defeated the Dolphins 9-22. I'm sorry, the Dolphins were victorious at home against the visiting Buffalo Bills 9-22. 49ers eked out that victory against the New York Jets 16-10. I say eked out, but really we should have scored more. That's why I said our defense was playing stellar. But we have to get our fucking offense on point. Eli Manning threw 5 interceptions in this game. Not almost interceptions, 5 legitimate interceptions. And that game ends 16-10. We should have scored off of some of those opportunities, man. So we got to get our shit together. Kaepernick went 15-29 for 193 yards and 1 touchdown. Eli Manning was 22 of 45 for 280 yards, 1 touchdown, and 5 interceptions. Frank Gore had 19 carries and 95 yards, but he also had a strip fumble from him on that game. Meanwhile, Jennings had 18 carries and 59 yards, no touchdowns for the Giants. Michael Crabtree had 3 receptions for 85 yards and a touchdown for our Niners, while the rookie Randall had 7 catches and 112 yards for the Giants. It was a good game, but as I said, you guys really need to step your shit up and score the ball on offense. There's only so many times your defense can bail you out. Eagles lost to the Packers 53-20 inside of Lambeau Stadium. Now listen, on Lambeau Field, I really didn't expect the Eagles with Mark Sanchez as the quarterback to walk in there and beat those guys. But for it to be 53-20, if anybody don't got the Green Bay Packers going deep in the playoffs this year, start adjusting your radar. The Vikings lose to the Bears on the road 13-21. The Texans are victorious on the road 23-7 against the Cleveland Browns. As I mentioned, the Seahawks lost 20-24 in Kansas City to the Chiefs. Falcons pulled out a 2-point victory against Cam Newton, which came down to his last drive, but fumbles and interceptions and things like that, you can't win the game turning the ball over. 19-17, the Atlanta Falcons win that game. The Cincinnati Bengals were the second team in a row to go into Mercedes-Benz Superdome and beat the New Orleans Saints, and they did it 27-10. That was pretty convincing fashion, if you ask me. Way to rebound, Andy Dalton. The Buccaneers on the road beat RG3-led Washington Redskins 27-7. Yes, RG3 played the whole game. The Broncos lost 7-22 on the road to the St. Louis Rams. The Chargers beat the Raiders at home 13-6. The Lions lost to the Cardinals 14-6, which made the Cardinals be 9-1 in the NFL's overall standings. And on Monday Night Football, on the Sunday Night Football Night in America game, the Patriots beat the Colts 42-20 in Indianapolis at Lucas Oil Stadium. And the Monday Night Football game, the Steelers redeemed themselves from losing to the Jets by beating the 1-8 at the time, now 1-9 Tennessee Titans 27-24, and they barely won that game, ladies and gentlemen. And with that being said, this has been Aspire for Greatness Radio AFG Live Sports Report with your boy Young Hot. Make sure you guys are tuned in to the show next week, where I can give you all the scores for the games that I told you was coming up this coming weekend. I will make sure I lock that down for you guys. But first,